Although it may not feel like it when you're slumped on the couch halfway through your second tub of ice cream, there are actually some humans out there who make you look like a toddler. For the past 150 years, industrialized nations have increased by height by an average of around 4 inches, thanks mainly to better nutrition. So although today's list contains a few people from history, humans now are as big as we've ever been. No matter what your size, we're sure you can reach the subscribe button just under this video. Just make sure not to bang your heads on the comment section. Iranian Hulk. Sajjad Karibi loves a good topless pose on Instagram for his 250,000 followers, but he's not expecting a modeling contract anytime soon. You'd need to use double the cloth, and he'd probably snap the catwalk. He's nicknamed the Iranian Hulk, and it's pretty obvious why. He's 6'1" and weighs in at a monstrous 350 pounds, most of which is muscle. He's a professional weightlifter and has also represented his native Iran in international bodybuilding competitions. He can lift more than his own body weight, and in 2016, he pledged that he would begin training with the military so he could travel to Syria and fight against ISIS. Don't make him army. You wouldn't like him when he's army. Robert Wadlow. Robert Wadlow died of an infection at just 22 years old, but in that time, he managed to creep all the way up to 2.72 meters. That's less than an inch below 9 feet tall. His father was a respectable 5'11", but Robert could easily rest an elbow on his head. Like many of the world's giants, his condition came from a problem with his pituitary gland. He had to wear leg braces once he reached maturity, and it was actually one of those rubbing on his ankle that gave him the fatal infection. Although there are other claims, none can be proved for sure, so he remains the tallest person in recorded history. Nikolay Valuev. Standing at 7'2", Russian boxer Nikolay Valuev has a reach so big he could knock you out when standing on one side of a car. You really shouldn't have made him sit in the back seat, to be fair. Now retired, he was a 2-time WBA heavyweight champion and nicknamed Beast from the East. He went undefeated through his professional career from 1993 until 2007, when he lost on points to Ruslan Shagavev. His only other defeat was his final fight to David Haye. He retired after that, partly on doctor's orders. He is now involved in politics after being elected to one of the lower houses in 2011. Good luck to anyone voting against him. Emmanuel Yarborough. The most famous sumo wrestler outside of Japan is Emmanuel Yarborough, who held the Guinness World Record as the heaviest athlete. As if being 6'8" didn't make him big enough, Manny, or Tiny as he was sometimes called, weighed almost 900 pounds at one point, which isn't too far off from being half a ton. He was World Amateur Sumo Champion in 1995, and he competed in other sports throughout his career, including mixed martial arts and playing offensive tackle for Morgan State in the NCAA. His MMA career was only 3 fights, the last of which he lost to Daiju Takase, a Japanese kickboxer who weighed only 20% of what Yarborough did, proving that size really doesn't matter. He died of a heart attack in 2015, aged just 51, after a lifetime of food addiction. He had a poor diet from a very young age, and even though he dropped weight after a heart scare in 2007, it sadly wasn't enough. Hafthor Julius Bjornsson. If your TV show is casting for a character called The Mountain, then you're probably going to cross Tom Cruise and Elijah Wood off the list and start flicking through the Icelandic phone book. With a population of just 350,000, Iceland has won 8 of the world's strongest man contests since they began in 1977. There must be something in the water, or possibly in the lava. Hafthor Julius Bjornsson became the Mountain from the 4th season of Game of Thrones, and at 6'9", was actually the shortest actor to take the part, since both Ian White and Conan Stevens were over 7 foot. In 2016, he also became part of one of the most obvious deals in advertising when he became the face of Icelandic mountain vodka. He probably squeezes it straight out the rocks. Jorge Gonzalez. After retiring from a basketball career where he played for his national team and in the NBA, Jorge Gonzalez became the tallest WWE wrestler of all time, beating competition from other tall wrestlers such as Kane and Giant Silva. He was 7'7" in real life, but was often billed as being 8 feet tall. That's right, wrestling fans. Sometimes it's not true. In the WWF, he played Giant Gonzalez, a villain who wore a distinctive suit and had hair and muscles airbrushed over it. His debut appearance saw him eliminating wrestling legend The Undertaker, but his career never really took off, and he left the WWF in the same year he joined. He retired in 1995 with serious health issues and ended up on dialysis when his kidneys failed in 2009. He died the year after. Maximinus Thrax. If you ask any woman who's ever used a dating app, she'll tell you that men lie about their height pretty regularly. So for our next Colossus, it's impossible to know what his actual measurements were, and claims that he was 8'6" are almost certainly untrue. Maximinus Thrax was the 27th emperor of the Roman Empire from 235 to 238. He was born a peasant and worked his way up through the Roman legions. Eventually, the troops became annoyed with Emperor Severus Alexander, so they killed him and elected Maximinus Thrax as the new leader, which is basically how all Roman power charters charges seem to work. The records claim he was so big that he wore his wife's bracelet as a thumb ring, and that he towered over even the largest of the empire's athletes. Of course, a lot of this is probably exaggeration, either to make him out to be a common barbarian or to emphasize how the people admired him. Like how your mother is always thinking you were a beautiful baby. You weren't. You were just a pink gremlin, just like the other babies. Of course, it must get tiring when everyone looks at you like they've just climbed the beanstalk. So for any of our large viewers watching, just stand farther away and always carry one of those giant award-winning pumpkins. People will never notice. We hope you learned something new, and drop us a comment if you think there's a big guy out there that we should have included. Be sure to hit subscribe to become a part of the Hub. See you again soon.